I am now would like to go ahead and introduce our next panel. So Lisa Gavalis, who I've known for many years, is kind enough to help us and moderate this conversation. She has a lot of her own experience in thinking about brand and performance marketing in digital roles and overall CMO roles and CEO roles. So, and now currently sitting on a number of board of director seats. So Lisa, why don't you pick it up from here, turn yourself off of mute, and let's get started with this conversation.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Hopefully we will get Naomi on in a minute, or is she on?
I'm here.
Great. Okay. So the gang's all here. Hi, I'm Lisa Gavalis. This is an interesting topic. We've all been trying to figure out how to spend more money on brand over the years. And here we are with business down for most people, which often means marketing budgets are down. And when that happens, it's often easiest to go with last click, most proven, immediate response kind of marketing. But I think we all know that that's sort of a long-term lose. So what I'm really excited to talk about here is how my panelists all have really interesting ways of ensuring that branding is still alive, even in a time when, budgets might be down. So I'm going to ask everyone to introduce themselves first. I'll start. Lisa Gavalis, you heard Scott say I'm an old dog. He and I have been around together for a long time. I've run a couple companies. I've run marketing for a couple companies. When I was at Bloomingdale's, I led the team that started Bloomingdales.com in 2001 and also launched Express.com in 2008. So I've been in bricks and mortar most of my life, but with a bent towards digital. So it's super interesting as things have progressed incredibly over the years to sort of watch the evolution of everything from social media to sort of how you get in touch with your customers. I am on the board of Forever 21, True Religion, a couple others. And so what I'm hoping to get from each of my panelists first is, who are you? Where are you today? And sort of how you got there. So I'm going to start with Grace, because Grace, on my camera, you're just to my left.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Grace. I'm currently VP of Growth Marketing at the Skimm. So some people may be most familiar with the Skimm's daily newsletter. We serve an audience of millennial women, just all different ways and tools to make their lives smarter. And I've, for the last 15 years or so, have been working across e-commerce and media companies. I think one thread, of my experience is working at brands that have their heart or their start as communities and have built businesses on top of that. So I'm very new to the Skimm, week 3, full disclosure. But most recently, right before this, I was at Food 52, which is a food and home website that had a really strong community, and then built a commerce business on top of that. So yeah, that's me. Happy to be here.
Thanks. Thank you. Greg, I'm going to go this way.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Gregory Batchelor. I'm the VP of Marketing at AB Tasty. We are an experience optimization platform. And basically what we do is we help e-commerce businesses deliver the best brand and product experiences on all their digital channels. So we do that through experimentation, so traditional testing, personalization, and product feature management. So the ability to launch new features very quickly on mobile apps, for example. And what we do at the end of the day for our customers, we help them increase their conversion rates on their websites and increase their bottom line. And I'm in Chicago, Lisa. So hi, everybody.
Thank you. Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Hi, so I'm Lisa Laich. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here for Rockport. We're a parent company owning 5 brands of comfort-based footwear. Rockport is our biggest brand. We also have Reef Sandals, Aravan, Dunham, and Cobb Hill. My background is a little unique, actually, for footwear. As any of you who know, the footwear industry does tend to recruit from within its own. But I've been here at Rockport for about a year now after a 15-year career in marketing for food and beverage companies and some personal care as well. So clearly this topic is fascinating for me because in those companies, mostly what I did was brand marketing. That was 100% of my budget since we didn't have our own retail. So now coming to Rockport, I think it's a great opportunity for me personally to sort of take brand marketing all the way down through to conversion. It's just been fantastic. But well, we'll get into the topic of brand versus performance marketing, but I have a bias, obviously, for my background over brand marketing.
Thanks, Lisa. And Naomi, from above or wherever you are.
Hello. Yes, I come to you from the heavens. I'm sorry, we're going to blame technology today, but I am here, and hopefully you can all hear me. So I've been in social media for the past 10 or so years, but I currently lead the social strategy team for Qurate Retail Group, focused most specifically on our video commerce businesses, which are QVC and HSN. My team is responsible for developing, executing, creating new opportunities that grow our business, that tap into the powers, the amazing powers of social media.
Thank you. So I'm really excited because as you can imagine, we did a little dry run, talked to everybody already. And so everyone comes from a very different perspective, but I think there's a lot to learn in all of them. So let's start with, how does your company think about branding? How did they think about it pre-COVID? And if it's changed, how do they think about it post-COVID? And Lisa, I'm going to tee it up with you because you already sort of started getting down the
Can't help it. I was just No, so again, I think Rockport is an interesting, clearly this is an interesting year for all of us. Compounded here at Rockport, we are in the middle of a turnaround. This company is about 2 years in now to a complete business kind of turnaround overhaul. And we had just been working on sort of a new branding. We had developed a new brand strategy based really deeply in really deep, rich consumer insights. We kind of set a new North Star for the brand, had gone through a pretty significant brand repositioning project and new branding identity work. So brand, right? That was what we all talked about for the last fall and into January, February of this year. And the plan is to roll it out this summer. So yeah, clearly COVID was a bit of a sucker punch to all of that work. But what we actually haven't missed a beat. The way we sort of have been thinking about the last few months is that COVID has just been this great accelerator. A lot of what, coming in about a year ago, what we knew we needed to do was use data, use consumer insights and use data to inform our decisions. Be more agile in our content creation and our branding work based on that data and based on real-time information, what we're hearing from our consumers and what's working. And so those three things were all where we wanted to move the marketing department and honestly the whole company. We wanted to move in that direction, and we were slowly getting there. And then COVID happened, and we had to. It was survive or die. So it was it happened a lot faster than I think it would have been if we hadn't had this crisis. So we're seeing it as an opportunity for us now to kind of sync up brand and performance marketing in a way that hadn't been done before. They were operated as different silos, budgets were distinct, the teams were distinct, and we've now just smushed it all together because it's one and the same now. How we talk to our consumers has to be done through the lens of what's the brand strategy, what's the branding, and then how do we actually activate it with the consumer in the best possible way.
That's great. I can't wait to hear your answer to your next question. That's really impressive, right? I mean, you took proverbial lemons and made lemonade, right? Figured out a way. And that's, I think, what all of retail is trying to figure out. I mean, things are so tough for so many. How do we survive and how do we think differently? And it sounds like you guys have really been doing that. Super interestingly, I think Greg has a good story too. Tell us about how your company thinks about brand and how some of your clients are thinking about it.
Yeah. Thanks, Lisa. So I think we all agree that brand is a great uplift to any type of performance marketing that you're doing. And, I think a lot of brands, including us, and I think some of you will talk about this, but building the emotional connection with the consumer, building that story, building the why buy from us is what we've been seeing in the past few years. And I think a lot of you guys on this session today work on these things. But it's like, why you exist, why you're relevant in the marketplace. And I think we've been seeing a lot of businesses really focusing pretty heavily on that in the past few months and years. I think the investments on pure brand projects are going to go pretty down in the next few months, unfortunately. And I think, the maybe CFOs or CEOs look at our marketing costs pretty significantly. And I think performance marketing is definitely on the roadmap in the next few months during this pandemic. And whilst the emotional piece is still very important, what we're seeing is that a lot of companies are trying to differentiate in the marketplace. And they do that through technology. So we have companies like Qurate, Pros, Avon, Oral-B, these type of brands, Neutrogena, for example, these type of brands embed technology in their connection with the consumers to be able to deliver better experiences. So that's what we're seeing. And the quick example I want to use is, for example, Neutrogena using their 360 app or Skin ID app. That you can take a picture and, for example, get your skin, if it's a bit greasy in your forehead versus your cheek, you'll receive a personalized mask. And that's the type of thing that a lot of brands are doing today, is technology infused in their marketing.
That's awesome. Finally, technology has caught up with the desire to be personalized, even if we are relatively mass merchants. That's terrific. Thank you. And Naomi, sorry, I need like a little picture of you.
I know. Sorry. So sorry.
All good.
So, you can hear me. Great. So for us, I think QVC and HSN, we're obviously very fortunate in this current climate that we have a brand that really lends itself well to shopping from home. And we've been doing that for decades now, since we've been around. And we obviously have this like very differentiated business model from any of the other retailers that are out there. That's core to who we are as a brand, given that we have multiple networks that reach hundreds of millions of homes every day. So that's really both our brand marketing and our direct response performance marketing all kind of combined in one, which is very unique. But we've always been, I think, like at the core about storytelling and connection. And it's just been, I guess, remarkable is probably the best word, crazy, to see this thing that's forced us all to be apart from each other, has encouraged us and so many other brands to reinvent ways for us to stay close to each other and close to our customers. And I know Grace just said this word as well, but we've always leaned on our community. They're our superpower, and now more than ever, people want to feel like they're part of something bigger. And we work hard to bring our customers into our brand to be a part of it. So I think before and after COVID, it's always been about people. It's the word that we hear all around our building and our homes, I guess now today, people and telling their stories. So while we've always supported, say, entrepreneurs by providing them with a platform to share their products, most recently we did that by shining a light on small businesses that were directly impacted by the COVID crisis. We donated our airtime through a partnership with the NRF Foundation. So that's just one small example, but I think it lends itself to the point that it's really exactly the same in a way, but just with even more intentional in supporting our broader community and ensuring that we're providing a value to them that goes much further than a product that they buy from us. So really, really, community is at the heart.
That's terrific. So many people and places are in need. It's great to be able to participate in that as part of who you are as a company. Mm-hmm. Grace, you've got a great story. Your company was a brand before it was a business. So tell us about your experiences either where you are today or Food 52.
Sure. So I did the really fun career transition during a pandemic, which, 10 out of 10 do not recommend. But, sometimes that's the way it goes. But so I could talk a little bit about pre-pandemic, actually, I guess, regular normal world. When I was going into 2020 planning at Food 52, I was feeling fairly bullish about testing more out of home. We were looking at bringing the commerce experience to real life and all the different incarnations that could take, and building an out-of-home strategy that would have a branding halo, but then also drive to these sort of different activations that we were planning. So obviously, none of that came to fruition. What we started to do, and if you remember sort of early pandemic days when we were all first home and everyone was making sourdough bread, it feels like years ago. But we were forced to kind of stop what we were doing and create lots of content from home. And it was all in that thread of serving the community with what they need now. And then that mix, a lot of our energy had been towards the commerce business, and that didn't leave, but we couldn't. That moment wasn't just about selling pans. It was about really providing people some respite, some diversion, and also something active they can do and feel good about, trying to be kind of their bright spot on their internet. And because we served around food and home, it felt like we were well positioned to do that. So we really, really leaned into our community core during those early pandemic days, and just building off of something Naomi said about like people wanting to be attached to something a little bigger. Took that moment to spotlight small makers that we had sold who were impacted by retail shutting down in those early days, and build storytelling around them to get our community to then buy online, because in many of them were the only online only retailer that they worked with. So that was really exciting. And I'm seeing of those very early days at the Skimm, still that same spirit of really leaning into the community core. Like that's this kind of special brand sauce, I think, for Food 52 and also for the Skimm. So that I think so it's not necessarily something new that we're doing, but it's like really leaning into what people need, listening to feedback, and building experiences they can really attach themselves to. That's kind of the core brand strategy that this moment has made very apparent is super important.
Yeah, both of your businesses have really understood the community, and I think that's incredible. So, which brings me sort of to my last question. All of you have figured out, both pre and post COVID, things that we can do better, things that we're doing better because of COVID. We've had to work our way around and be a little scrappy. We need to confess that my sourdough starter, which I did have, like everybody else, is now dead. So must be on to like phase 2. But the lesson learned, I need to know what they are. And Naomi, I'm going to start with you.
All right. You didn't forget me this time. I love it.
Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
lessons learned. So I think from my perspective, I think one of the biggest things that like most resonates with me isn't necessarily something that's new to us or that we've learned right now, but the current climate has really forced us to double down on it. And again, just that's really focusing and redefining our community. And I think the key lesson is tapping them as an extension of our brand. So we want to be a brand that stands for something and that brings people together despite us all being forced apart right now. So some examples are investing in our customer advocacy programs at QVC and HSN. That allows customers customers who are very best advocates, of course, to not only earn money right now, which is especially welcome for many, but also to give them and encourage them to tell the story of our brand and the products that we sell on their own social platforms. So on top of that being a driver for our business, it's also a source of content for us that we can use on other channels, which has been an awesome savings for us. We've done things like facilitate Skype calls with some of our hosts, our program hosts on air, and a few of our customers that have literally elicited tears of joy and thankfulness for being a brand that's going above and beyond and doing things like that during this crazy time in our world. We've also leaned in pretty heavily to our vendor and brand partners and encouraged them to create video at home, maybe a sourdough starter, Lisa, and then they'll send us that content, and then we'll edit it to ensure that it's brand right to share to our channel. So just thinking about unique and creative ways to do what we've done, but do it differently. And in many cases, it's even more authentic than it was before. A way that we're connecting that back to a direct ROI is retargeting the audiences that we build from that content on YouTube, and then ensuring that it's surfaced across the Google network with product. So just connecting brand and performance there. So bottom line, just really thinking about, not only the perspective of our customer from the experience that they'll have as a shopper, but thinking of them as an extension of our brand. And I really think that with the speed with which everything's changing right now, that brands that create a way to foster a community, again, as Grace shared, that's bigger than just shopping is really what's going to ensure their long-term success and continue to stand out from the rest.
I love that story. I mean, you've basically taken your vendors and your customers, wrapped them in a bow with your company and said, we are together, this company, and we'll help make it grow. I think it's a great story.
Absolutely.
Let's stick with sort of that theme and go back for a second, because she's got a similar approach to understanding that community.
Yeah, for sure. Like if there's, sort of the takeaways there.
Can you hear me, Grace?
Again, yes, I can hear you. You can hear me? Yes. So just doubling down. And I think even if, I've had the benefit of, even before the Skimm and Food 52, I was at the Knot. That's sort of where I kind of started my career as a marketer. So I've seen sort of taking a community and growing businesses on top of it. But I think now, technically I'm a performance marketer, I guess. But I think brand now is more important than ever. And then getting back to the idea around budget and spending, thinking about that as resources instead of necessarily media budget. And what can you invest in building that community and building that dialogue? And I think organic builders of that are just so much more powerful and can be so much more powerful, especially if you're trying to kind of decide how to use a media budget. And because I think right now that relationship, which I think is the core of what a brand is way more important now than it probably even was before COVID. It's so much more important to get back to those fundamentals. How are you serving people? How are you engaging in that dialogue? What you can build around it, and you can use organic channels for it, which is great. Like how can you make your social engagement more robust by talking back? More innovative ways to use email, blogs, etc. So I think that this is a really unique period of time to make those time investments and resource investments, and then thinking about putting my performance hat on for a minute again, thinking about how that can bring down your cost of acquisition when you are going for that more direct response type of media.
Okay, well, I got the 5 minutes. So between the two of you guys, we're gonna go Lisa first, and we're going to clean up here. Tell us what learned.
Yeah, Greg, I'll leave you plenty of time.
Lisa
Don't worry.
L.
Yeah, can you hear me, guys?
I'm Lisa G. Lisa L.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, lovely. So I think my lesson learned is I can't predict what's going to happen in the next month, in the next 2 months. I have no prediction anymore. I tried throughout this process to try to guess when things are going to happen. We sell an office shoe. For the most part, that's the bulk of our brand is in shoes that people wear to work. People aren't going to work right now. We thought that maybe they would be back to work in August, and they're not. Don't think they're going to be back in September. So our big lesson learned is we can't plan ahead. So we got to be, again, very, very data driven and really look for the signals, look for the demand on a daily basis, and try to understand where the consumer is. That's step one. Step two is then we need to be agile in how we both develop content and develop marketing plans and tactics to go after where the consumer is at this moment. And we're just living very much day to day. And luckily I've experienced with that because I have 2 young kids. So you just learn you can't plan ahead, have no control. So you just go with it.
Absolutely. And I love it. Nimble has always been a criteria. The fact that this is in like reinforcing that and requiring us to do, we're gonna see the silver lining. Maybe not tomorrow, but we're gonna see the silver lining. Greg, for cleanup, tell us lessons learned.
All right. Quick lessons learned. So what we've seen a lot with the brands is communication was a big thing with COVID, of course. We saw in a previous session that some of the communication was very important, but any communication on the website, all the digital channels, where to call support or where to return something, stores closing. So communication was the number one thing, and communicating fast and effectively was the number one thing that our brands did. And then there's a few trends that are appearing. I think marketers' resources are a little bit stretched, and we need to deliver a lot for our businesses. And any technology with automation or helping you, figuring out the right segments or the right data to do the market, to market to these people is very important. We're seeing a lot of personalization trends as well. You need to be able to deliver the right message to the right people at the right time. That's up there for all the customers we're talking to. And the last thing is, I think performance marketing is going to be back for the next, next few months pretty heavily. There was a Gartner interview from CMO saying that they expect their spend to go back in 18 to 24 months. So there's still going to be a lot of scrutiny, I think, on some of the marketing budgets and ensuring that if you spend $1, look how much you get back. Thanks.
That's Lisa, awesome. Are you still there?
You're right. Lisa, something you said before that I don't think you said today. I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I lost?
We hear you.
No. It says
You're
I'm
good.
unstable. Okay.
We hear you, Lisa.
Okay. So Lisa, one of the things you said to me I thought was great is that you're using you're using brand words and all the stuff that you learned in branding in your performance marketing, even if we have to lean on performance, all the things we've learned about branding and all the unique ways we think about branding, I think we can infuse better than we have in the past.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
That's been part of the kind of bringing together that kind of brand and performance marketing. So we're sort of one team now, and we're infusing as much as we can all of the branding strategy and insights into any performance marketing we're doing.